Welcome to PowerNation Builds. I'm Allie Walker. Everyone gets a little nervous when they see blue lights, but we're giving you the green light with Detroit Muscle's Crown Vic upgrade.
To get you up to speed, we took a 2008 Police Interceptor with a ton of miles and added a few budget-friendly upgrades.
We started with a remote mount turbo and fabricated a bit of plumbing to get all that power to our 4.6-liter V8.
Of course, with all that added air, we needed more fuel as well, so we switched it over to a return-style system with a bigger fuel pump.
Then we took our old police cruiser down to engine power and strapped it onto the dyno.
With a little tuning help, we went from 200 horsepower at the tires stock to 368 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque.
The first thing we're doing today is seeing how she performs on the street.
Well, Tommy, you were right.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said you were right. This car's cool.
How is that cool?
Well, because it's cheap and you get a lot of car for your money.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you throw some parts at it and have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know you could have been skeptical in the front half of this thing because it is a big old four-door car, but man, the potential is here. You know, the V8 shares a lot of components of the other pony car, if you will, from the Ford lineup. And with that, it's got room to expand. There's room under the hood, room under the car, and all that kind of jazz. So, where's the oh no handle? Make sure you know where that's at.
We're gonna die. We're gonna die.
That wasn't bad. That was about Bill 05.
That's nice. It does what it's not supposed to do, and that's why it's cool. And I have a feeling before we make it back to the shop today, you know what else it's gonna need?
What's that?
A set of tires.
Well, let's just see what we can do.
You know, this is a stop sign.
Right?
Probably ought to stop.
Yep. Which way are we going?
Go back that way.
That way.
Yeah, that's sir.
Just a good old boy. Okay.
We're gonna go this way one more time.
Which way are we going?
I'm undecided.
Yeah, that was awesome. I think we should get out of here.
You know, I almost want to bet you a 6-pack of whatever you like to drink and some chicken wings that we're gonna get a bit greasy and rusty today working on this thing.
Absolutely, but I'll be willing to bet you that it's gonna be worth it because look at the turbo. A little bit of work, big payoff.
That it was.
Apply the same thing to the suspension, maybe we'll get the same results. But before we start digging into that, let's talk about the actual design of this suspension.
The suspension up under our Crown Vic was started back in '03 whenever they converted from the gearbox to the rack and pinion. It only has a couple of bolts that hold this entire unit up under the car, which makes it pretty popular with the guys building the resto mod trucks.
Another reason is it's got this aluminum K-member. It's super lightweight. The rack and pinion's already integrated, like Tommy said, but it's also got this SLA or short arm, long arm suspension design, which makes it handle really well. It's kind of like a race car, just a little more heavy duty.
Now with our car being a police cruiser, it has a few better goodies up under it, which is a thicker sway bar, better valving in the strut, and heavy duty springs. Not to mention better biting brakes.
So overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give it an A+. And the rear, it's not so bad either. Let's check it out. My favorite is the parallel 4-link with a Watts link, and that is what's on our Crown Vic here. The only drawback would be packaging. It's hard to fit all of those bars in on a smaller car, but we've got a big car, and Ford saw it necessary to put it on all of these, and I'm glad they did. It's great from the factory, but there is room for improvement, so we're gonna dig in and fix it up. Well, we've already established there's not a ton of aftermarket support for these Crown Vics, but thankfully there is some. And to keep you from searching all over the place to get all the parts you need, there's a one-stop shop called adtr.net. We actually talked to a guy there named Chris. He helped us assemble a parts list of everything we needed to make our Crown Vic handle the way it should. And that's everything you see here on this table. But before we get into all that stuff, I want to talk about these specifically. These are the stamped steel Watts links that we removed from the car, and these are the ones that we're going to replace them with. They're billet aluminum from Metco Motorsports. What's nice about these is they're a lot stiffer, they're lighter, and they've got these stiffer bushings in here, so it's not going to flex the way the factory ones would. And they just bolt right in. But before we get to those, let's do the control arms next. I'm going to do one at a time. There's new uppers and lowers also from Metco. Same design, billet aluminum, heavy duty. They're going to do everything we need to do. Bolt right in. Let's start with these. I said I was going to do these one at a time, and the reason I'm doing that is because if I take more than one out, the rear end's going to move and I'm going to have to realign it to get the bolts back in. This way I can just pull each arm out, put the new one in.
The Interceptor ups its pursuit power, coming up next. We're back just in time for Marc to revamp the front end and Tommy to rehab the rear.
Well, since Tommy kicked me out back before I could get that wrapped up, I figured I'd take this opportunity to move up front and get it torn down, which is exactly what I've done here. Everything here on this table is going in the scrap bin because we've got all new stuff to replace it. You saw this earlier. It's everything we got from adtr.net. What we're going to focus on right now, though, is going to be this coilover kit for the front. This is an HQ series kit from Ride Tech. They're lightweight, they have adjustable ride height, and even adjustability in the valving on the shock. Probably more than we need, but this is what's available, and they're super cool. So this is what we're gonna put on. With that upper mount in place, we can slide our coilover in, bolt it down. Now we can just reinstall our ball joints and our steering linkage, and we can move on to our sway bar. This is a bigger, beefier sway bar than the stock one, so it's going to provide better handling. Man, we are making some serious progress on our 08 Crown Vic Police Interceptor. I know this may sound a little unconventional, but we are doing a generic single turbo system mounted out back here where the driver's side muffler used to be. It's going to be tons of fun. LT came in from Truck Tech, welded up hot side of our exhaust system. That's going into the turbo, and then coming out of the turbo, he's got this nice downpipe and the wastegate. Looks really nice. Then we focused on the cold side. We got this air filter here. Probably not going to be able to drive this thing in the rain, but that's okay because we don't want to suck any water in there. But we also did the charge pipe. Goes from 2, 2 1/4, up to 2 1/2. Slides right up here next to the exhaust and goes up into the engine bay.
Whenever you start doing some work on the back side of a rear end like we are, well, a bit of an aroma is gonna be a thing you're gonna be plagued with. I know Mark said he didn't want no part of this. I think he was the wiser man. Now we are gonna have to do a bit of tear down and get all these goodies off. One more to knock out. Then we gotta remove the pin and get our hands a bit dirty. What we're gonna do here is swap into a lower set of gears. Originally, this car came with a set of 327s. Come on, baby. There we go. And we're swapping in a set of 373s. It ain't really a whole lot to it. You just swap out the ring gear. Torque it to spec. Then you got to remove the pinion and install a new one. Now there is a way that you need to set these things up correctly. Once you set your pinion depth, you can slide in the carrier, torque it to spec, and then check your backlash.
Well, if your brake pads are starting to look like the ones we just pulled off of our Crown Vic here, then you know it's time to upgrade your pads and rotors. You could just upgrade to stock, or you could get something that's a little more high performance and higher quality. You can do that with EBC's S4 brake kit. It's made for spirited street driving, and it comes with these USR rotors that are coated with a black anti-rust coating, and they're slotted, which is for better performance braking and also keeps the surface nice and clean and free of brake dust. The pads that come with the kit are EBC's Red Stuff ceramic pads. These things are ideal for repeated heavy braking without fading, and they also prevent your rotors from being damaged. Well, that's it for the front. We just need to wrap up on the rear because we are getting dangerously close to heading out on patrol. ADTR sent us this new WattsLink pivot bolt, which is stronger than the stock one. With it tightened down, we can finally start installing those WattsLinks. We'll get the outer links in. Attach them to the center link, then attach it to the pivot. So we got to get this adjustable spring perch mounted here because it'll fall off otherwise. That's what this little stud here is for. Just got to wiggle it in there. That's it. Tighten that nut down. There we go. Then the rear springs can go in, followed by the drive shaft, the shocks, and the new rear sway bar. All right, get some brakes on. This rear end's done.
While Marc's in there finishing up the suspension under our Crown Vic, I'm gonna go ahead and slap on some new shoes. And by the looks of them, somebody's been abusing these. I don't know who that would have been, not me. What we're putting on is a set of General G-Max RS tires. Now these are a little bit smaller in diameter and a bit wider too. It's gonna help accommodate the stance that we're looking for, plus give us plenty of performance out on the street. Put a little more air in this thing, we're about ready to ride. All right, Hoss, I got you some skins for this thing.
Oh, look at that.
What else are we gonna need?
I think that's it.
Really?
Yep.
Then we can ride?
Some gas.
Woo-wee, that sounds sweet.
Stick with us for more PowerNation builds up next. Welcome back to PowerNation Builds, where Detroit muscle's getting ready to convert the Crown Vic.
Our plan is to swap it over to a manual. Well, we got our Crown Vic all disassembled, and we're pretty much ready to start going back in with the new pieces. Now, what's cool about this conversion is it's not so crazy that it's gonna require one-off pieces, because this power plant and this Crown Vic is shared in the Mustang and in the pickup trucks. But it is handy to have somebody to help make your dreams happen, like what we're going with. So we went to American Powertrain for all the hard parts: flywheel, clutch disc, pressure plate, and so on. It's time for us to start putting some in. I'll knock in the new pilot bearing and set our flywheel into place, add some thread locker to the bolts, torque it to spec. Then we can add our clutch disc and pressure plate. Once that's all in, we can add our bolts and cinch them down. That's it.
Well, here's the transmission that's going in our Crown Vic. It's a Tremec TKO 600 that came from American Powertrain. Now, there's several advantages to this thing. First and foremost is going to be the fact that it's a manual compared to that slush box that came out. Another thing is going to be this thing's going to handle all the power we can throw at it with that turbo we added. This thing's kind of on its last leg. At this point, it's the weakest part of the car, so it's just a matter of time before this thing ends up in the scrapyard. So we figured we'd go ahead and do some preventative maintenance and go ahead and yank it out. Some other disadvantages to this automatic. This is a 4-speed. Even though it does have an overdrive, it's going to have completely different gear ratios than our 5-speed here. First gear in this transmission is going to be super low, so you're going to have that performance feel off the line. But then the overdrive, it's a nice and high gear, so when you get out on the highway, you kick it into overdrive and you just cruise, it'll actually even save you some fuel. Another thing is this thing is an electronic transmission, so it's going to go into whichever gear the controller tells it to. As with this one, it's gonna go into the exact gear we want at that exact moment. There's one more thing though we need to take into consideration before we start throwing this thing in. Since the Crown Vics were only offered with automatic transmissions like this one here, the floor kind of contours the housing here. If you look at it from the side, it kind of flows downhill. And if you look at our manual, well, it's kind of flat across the top. So that might actually be an issue for us. We need to check it out. Another thing is we've got a shifter that's going to need to go through the floor. We're going to have to make a hole for that. So we need to see where this lands. We'll go from there. All we need to do is measure from the engine block to where that shifter's going to go and make a mark. All right, 26.5 inches is right there. I've got a hole drilled there where I need to drill with my hole saw, but it's gonna be difficult to do from underneath here because of the contour of the floor. So I'm gonna put the car down, do it from inside. All right, well now we can go ahead and get the bell housing in place and then put the transmission in. Come on, over there. Release bearing went onto the collar. Just need to go, wiggle the engine a little while you move it.
Perfect.
All right, whoa, let's hurry up and get some bolts in it.
Up next, Marc and Tommy live out their alter egos in a test drive like no other. Hold on to your seats. Detroit Muscle is hauling the mail in the Interceptor.
I said it before, and I'll say it again. You were right. This car is awesome. Great project.
Yeah, it's been, you know, a fun car, and it didn't take a whole lot of work to really improve. We made a lot of bolt-on type deals with it, you know, with the suspension, and then turbo was the most complicated. After you done that, man, it was game on.
Absolutely.
But other than it just being a teeny bit too loud, that's about it.
You can't take anything away from this car. Name something about it that you don't like. It's got 4 doors. It's not very gorgeous looking. It doesn't have the curb appeal, but what it lacks in curb appeal, it makes up for in presence.
Fun factor.
I want this car.
Man, that makes me feel good.
For myself. Like, I want to drive this car every day.
You know, it isn't all that often we get to have this much fun and no more work than we had to do.
Yeah, I absolutely love this car. It's actually one of my favorite projects we've ever done. Hate to see it go.
I got you, man, but there should be just something else we could do, you know, have a little more fun with it.
I think I know what you're talking about. I got this.
What the heck were you thinking, man? I'm like a super trooper and you're Reno some another.
We're cops. When do we ever get an opportunity to do this?
I guess you're right. I guess we need to take a spin. What do you think?
Let's go have as much fun as we possibly. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm driving.
You could have got me a shirt, brother, that fit. Hot pursuit, let's go. On the ride. Woo!
We're gonna get them. I'm telling you right now, boy.
So, maybe you should try to create a diversion.
Explain to me what you mean by that.
Big smoky burnout, cuz.
You think it'll do it?
Hell yeah, this thing will do it. Or as my grandpappy said, hell yeah. Oh, there goes. Let's see, make sure nobody's coming. Oh yeah. I don't know which one of us right now is Smokey and which one's Bandit, but I can tell you we're both postal workers because we hauling the mail.
Boy, this thing just drives itself through this drive-through.
Bet they already know what we want.
Just do me 3 dozen glazed then.
Can I get your coffee or anything else today?
Coffee? No, I think we're good. We got some beers in here. Root beers.
They don't know who they're messing with. Need to ask if they give an official discount.
Do you give guys like us discounts?
Guess that's a negative.
I guess that's a no. Noted. Thank you.
Have a great day.
That's like a good day sitting there eating dinner.
This is about the best day I've ever had at work.
I know, man. I can't believe I actually get paid to do this.
Sure, we're not the first ones to ever do this, but
Let's see why they do it.
absolutely. Got an idea.
What's that?
We're eating donuts? What if, hear me out, what if we did donuts?
Well, if you don't plan on doing a whole lot of them. That's what I'm talking about.
Donuts?
While eating donuts.
While eating donuts. I better get away from that trailer a little bit. Dude, this thing will do some serious donuts.
Don't get Krispy Kreme.
Look at it, it just loves it. It lives for this. Hell, I live for this.
See y'all. We out. Time for soup.
Those are my favorite kind of donuts. More fun and less filling. Be sure to check out all of our projects at PowerNationTV.com. I'm Allie Walker, and I'll see you down the road.